Dr. Jessica Ash here. Today, I have the honor of speaking with Sri Lanka's Chamber of Tourism and Industry President, Mohamed Jaufer, about the resurgence that Sri Lanka is seeing in their tourism. Mr. Jaufer, thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you very much. First of all, I must thank you, Dr. Jessica, that you are initiative to see the possibility of the tourism, rebuilding tourism in the country. So I must first thanks for you for you to innovated to highlight about the present situation of Sri Lankan tourism in the country.
So for many of our viewers, we may not have any idea about Sri Lanka's beauty. Now, I have seen some pictures of some beaches, and Sri Lanka looks just gorgeous. Can you tell me more about the beauty in Sri Lanka? I hear that there are 8 World Heritage Sites there.
Yes, of course. First of all, we must say Sri Lanka is an island, and it's a paradise for the tourism industries. We have many natures, beaches, wildlife, mountains, and the historical places, and etc. And Sri Lanka has a very good potential for tourism industry for a long time. During the Sri Lanka was earlier, it was a Ceylon, and was the British colonized was ruling the country. And 1815 to 1948, this Sri Lanka was the colonized colonial period by the British government. So even that time, a tourist arrival was from UK. And 1966, the planned tourism of Sri Lanka was established, and from that only the tourism static we had. And in 1966, we received 18,968 tourists to Sri Lanka. That was the beginning of the history of the tourism industry. And after that, gradually tourism was growing little by little. And after the civil war of the country, the 30 Years' War, entire tourism industry has been affected, and more city areas cannot also travel for the tourists. After 2009, the ending the war, and we had a good news that tourism arrival was increased to more than 600,000 tourists in 2010. Unfortunately, Sri Lanka tourism has faced many challenges time to time. We had a 30 Years' War, and we also had a tsunami affected to the country, and we had a 2019, and we had a terrorist attack, an April attack on Sri Lanka, and now the COVID-19. So we face many challenges during the past period to recover the tourism. Unfortunately, the first time in the world globally, the COVID-19 coronavirus has affected most of the country in the world. So Sri Lanka also affected not much. Unfortunately, the government of Sri Lanka, His Excellency President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and the defense military personnel and the public health sector people, and with the vigilance of the community of the country, and they control the coronavirus mostly. Because of that, the World Travel Council, based in London, they also launched the Sri Lanka as safety visit as a holiday destination. And even though that this coronavirus has been affected heavily for tourism industry, because there are no ordination to do it from tourism industry people. Unfortunately, tourism hoteliers and the suppliers, even tuk-tuk drivers, with jeep safari drivers and tour guides and restaurant owners, and as well as these ecotourism people who are doing the lagoon safaris and the other activities, and also the tourism promotion magazine publicity companies, and water sports tourism has been affected, especially surfing and diving and kids diving also in Sri Lanka. So water sports also have been affected on this coronavirus, as well as cottage industries and handicraft industries, hotel suppliers, and Ayurveda spas, and also the domestic airline who are operating in the country, as well as the gem business people, even from the small people, from the top level people. Gem, there are no buyer for them, and there are no seller to. There are people to sell, but there are no buyer. The gem industry also last 1 year has been affected on this. So considering this type of effect, and the Ministry of Tourism in Sri Lanka, Honorable Minister Prasanna Ranatunga, and His Excellency President and the Prime Minister together, and they had a discussion with all the stakeholders of the tourism industry. They had taken a consideration of what difficulty people was facing, and most of the people has got a bank loan for developing the hotel and other sectors, and government has given a 2 years moratorium for the hoteliers, and they also got some sort of assistance for the tour guide, and as well as the tuk-tuk drivers who also face their income, lost total income, and they were severely affected. So the government gave a one-time grant for the each tourist drivers and tuk-tuk and tourist drivers. In the meantime, there are some other mechanism also the government's thinking how they can help us, the industry. And totally we have 0.5 million tourist employees in the tourism sector. And Sri Lanka has officially registered more than 40,000 rooms. We have classified rooms in Sri Lanka, and the other 20,000 room has been already granted. So, and there are unclassified hotels and informal sector. Overall, if you can see, Sri Lanka has more than 100,000 rooms per night. So that is a good development for tourism industry when you're comparing to previous year. Unfortunately, this is the first time this health sector has been damaged entire global economy. And so therefore, with this challenge for everybody, and we are developing countries. So even the developed country also has a bigger challenge on this COVID-19. So our sympathy is for the people who are passed away on the COVID-19. There are more than 700 people has been passed away on this. A lot of people has been so, and we also pray for them to recover as soon as possible. And now globally, all the countries get together, and they have already find out the vaccine for this coronavirus. So very soon, within few 1 or 2 months, the vaccine will be can utilize to control this tourism, to bring tourism back. And if you say tourism industry concern, Sri Lanka has 26 5-star hotels. That's a good news for the tourism industries. And we have 24 4-star hotels, and we have 41 2-star hotels, and we have 1-stars 38 hotels. We have 1,050 guest houses, and we have other homestays, and we have boutique hotels. And like that, if you can compare that, I said 40,365 rooms officially registered. And out of that, 14,093 rooms are upmarket rooms. And also, when you, as I said, that tourism earning, 2018, Sri Lanka tourism sector was third foreign exchange earning sector. More than $4.3 million we earned through tourism. The tourism arrival was 2.3 million tourists was in 2018. Up to 2009, we never had a national tourist. No, there's no local tourist started to travel because of the conflict. So when we see the statistics on 2018, and there are more than 2.5 million local tourists nationally, they also travel around the country. So Sri Lanka, when I say more than 5 million people are traveling in the tour around the country, including local and the international tourists. Unfortunately, we had a 17 international airline was operating that time, but we have good news. We have 36 international airlines are operating to Sri Lanka. Have a very good interconnectivity, because interconnectivity bring more income and also more investment to the country. So Sri Lanka was going forward in a good time. Unfortunately, this COVID-19 has been a bigger setback for us. And also, when you say Sri Lanka has a very good opportunity, as you said, we have 8 UNESCO World Heritage Places, and we also have the road system. More than 55 to 60% of the road system has been developed in the country. And Northeast area was totally affected during the war, and at that time. Now in that area also tourism developments are online. In the meantime, there are other opportunities. When you say international countries, CNN Travel selected Sri Lanka is one of the best places to visit. And Lonely Planet has listed Sri Lanka is a world #1 tourist destination. So they've selected 10 top countries to Sri Lanka. So that 10 country people are arriving high. High-end tourists are also coming. We also have a budget tourist. Sri Lanka is catering a different type of market for. And also these people from Middle East, they come when they have a very hot on their country. They're looking for the cool climate area. So Middle East people from Saudi and Dubai, Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, another country, they come to Sri Lanka when their country is very hot. So we are ready for. We have a very good climate for them to stay here. When you compare to the Europe country, when they have a very cold, and they try to come back to Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka is matured for any country people in the world. The tourism actually, when you're comparing to the other destinations in Asia, and Sri Lanka will be their #1 place.
So it's safe to say that the entire world has been affected by COVID-19. So Sri Lanka is not alone in the challenges it has faced in that area. But what I hear you saying is that major media companies like CNN and Lonely Planet give Sri Lanka a thumbs up. And in years past, maybe there had been some challenges with infrastructure, but it sounds like you guys have built significant roads to create the connectivity you're talking about, and you have the major international airports at your disposal to make sure that tourists in Sri Lanka have the time of their life.
Yeah, this COVID-19 affected in globally. We also urge the United Nations World Tourism Organization, and they also have a lot of challenges because most of the global countries are affected. But we are also requesting them, because we are a developing country, and also this WHO, World Health Organization, joining with UNWTO, must give fully support for the developing country, especially like Sri Lanka, because last 2 years Sri Lanka have trembled because there are no coordination for the tourism industry people. There are no way to go out of the sector. So tourism sector people, they always depending on this sector, not like other sector, they can always change the sector to do something. But people who are working in the sector, who are involving in the sector, those tour guide cannot go and do Fendi farm work because they have to do their job. So there are no ordination for the tourism industry people. So what we say is we need international support from other countries to rebuild Sri Lanka tourism because they are the people going to utilize Sri Lanka, but they are going to make a holiday to Sri Lanka. So what we will be urging IMF, World Banks, Asian Development Banks are also supporting the government, and we also need to give more attention from UN, WTO, and as well as the World Health Organization has to consider Sri Lanka situation and the environment.
So, despite those calls for support, I understand that you have hotels of every class. So, if you want a 5-star boutique, or if your budget is lower, if you're a college student, that's just fine. I also hear that Arugambe is a #1 tourist destination for surfers. Can you tell me more about that?
Of course, that's why because of Arugambe, the world, Sri Lanka become a popularity because Arugambe is a world surfing destination. We have 2 surfing places in Sri Lanka. One is Hikkadua, the down south. Another one is the Arugambe. So both places they come and do it during the. Because we have 2 seasons in a year. One is from April to November, where the East Coast, and November to April in the southwestern part. So any tourist can come anytime here. So that climate has given more strength to develop our economics.
And so one of my points is, yes, anybody can go to Sri Lanka and enjoy the beautiful beach and just relax if that's what you want. But boasting 8 World Heritage sites and world surfing competitions means that Sri Lanka isn't just for the people who want to stroll the beach. That if you want adventure, there's plenty of adventure in Sri Lanka. Sri
Lanka also is the #1 market for the branding in Sri Lankan tea.
Yes.
So many countries are buying a Sri Lankan tea. So the Sri Lanka brand is already marketed. And we export textile, we export spices, we export various rubber, and also the cricket, the Sri Lanka cricket is #1 market for us. Well, they play, and we got a World Cup. Teams are coming to Sri Lanka, and our teams are going to other countries. So there are a lot of connectivities to brand Sri Lanka.
Cricket is enjoyed by people all over the world, from India to Australia to England, of course. Cricket's a very fun game to see.
And comparing the tourism arrival, for example, #1 country for us from India, because India is a neighbor country for us. According to the statistics of the tourism statistics in 2019, there are 355,000 tourists from India. Indian tourists has come to Sri Lanka. So #1 market for us, Indian market. A second market from UK, United Kingdom. Third was China, and fourth Germany, and Australia, France, Russia, United States, and the Maldives and Canada. So these are the 10 top countries tourists coming to the countries.
So you have people from many different countries, and how do you accommodate the different eating styles? For example,
Sri Lanka food is food style is tasty, and we have when they come here, when they go to the different areas of the islands, and they love to eat Sri Lankan foods. They have spicy food. And we have seafood. So food concern is they are happy on the sector. And as well as I just wanted to say, nationally, the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority also taking a step to to gazette a tourism zone in the country. The Sri Lankan tourism chairperson, Mrs. Himali Fernando, has informed that they have selected 15 destinations as a tourism zone in the country. So if the zones can develop, definitely we will have a sustainable tourism development will come up in the different part of the island. So that's also good news for us to future things. And also what we have in future things that we have a lot of challenges. So there's no hiding on that. The challenges has to be we have to face. So we have to sort out the challenges, and we have good opportunities for the industries.
One thing I'd like to say, please mute the other computer. Please mute your other computer. One thing I'd like to say is, despite these very real challenges of a developing nation, it sounds like Sri Lanka is a safe and beautiful place that is relatively easy to visit, with so many different airlines and roads for infrastructure. One thing that impresses me, Mr. Jaufer, is that despite these very real challenges, Sri Lanka is open for business, and that their support for their tourism industry is extensive, and it's very safe as well as beautiful, with many different types of vacations available. Is that true?
Of course, yes. When you can the different destination we have in the country. We have a place called Unavatuna. It's a #1 beach, and we have a Pasikuda beach is the #1 beach. If you go to Nilavali beach, so the beach we have a best beaches in the countries. So tourists can go to any of the beaches. As tourists want to see wildlife, we have more than 16 national parks in the country. So you can see many parks that you can go and see. We have a lot of heritage places, like Sigiriya is one of the places. And we have Pinnawala is the elephant orphanage place, where most tourists are visiting there. So there we have a different choice. The tourists can choose a place what they want. So that type of environment, tourism is developing. I think within 1 or 2 years, Sri Lanka will have a good future, because we had only one international airport. So government has taken this initiative, and they are going to operate 3 international airports in the country. So that will be giving more interconnectivity, more tourists will come to the country, more investment will to the country. So that in future of tourism will be good for the country. Through your interview, we wanted to give a good message to the world. Tourists can come here, and the investors can come here, business people come. We are different sector can invest and make a lot of opportunity in the country. Time being that because of the COVID-19, the health department has announced a 14-day quarantine for the people who are coming to Sri Lanka from this January 22nd for the holiday. So they have announced the guidance for 2 weeks to be in a quarantine, and then after that they can have after 2-3 PCR they can have their holiday here. But we also making a suggestion. We're also putting more suggestion to the government, if we can make it possible to reduce the days of the quarantines, it'd be much advantage. So that is why as a private organization, a facilitating body, so we can always we can always make a request to the government sectors and to think about how we can, with the health guidance, the health department can, because comparing other country, Sri Lanka always can make a possible way to protect the virus. So that is very important. So therefore, we also urging them to. I think time will come. The time come, everything will all right. Because when vaccines come out, then they don't need to be in for 14-day quarantine. The time, because of it started initial month. So I think we also making a request to consider the health department to make it possible. And also there are other opportunities that we are talking about in future. Say, Sri Lanka is an island. We have 6 ports in the country. Around the country we have Colombo, Galle, Hambantota, and we have the Trincomalee Harbour is a natural harbour in the world. The second largest natural harbour situated in Sri Lanka.
Wow.
That is the good news. And we have the Trincomalee Harbour. So we 6 harbour. We're making a request to the government, consider to use at least out of 6, 3 harbour can utilize for passenger vessel operation for tourism. So around the island we can do it, or from internationally we can bring the passenger vessel. There will be other attraction and also promotions and also eco-friendly concept for the tourism industry. So if the government can consider on that way to bring tourism through the vessel operation, to operating the harbour, there will be other advantage for tourism industry. And also there are good opportunity because the wellness tourism, like medical tourism, there are a lot of advantage for the medical tourism for the country. And there are other agricultural tourism also. There's other potential for this country. So I think these 2 type of sector, we can invite investors to come to Sri Lanka, and they can have a very good project to implement in this area.
So medical tourism will be very attractive to people in the U.S. because they're medicine, the healthcare sector is so expensive for so many in the U.S. I know of many people who have gone to other countries and had successful, wonderful surgeries that they needed at a fraction of the price of the inflated U.S. health market. So that's very good to know. And I'll tell you for my own self, number 1 on my bucket list is to play with baby elephants. So I can't wait to see the elephant orphanage.
Of course, you can always come and see the Sri Lanka beauty and the elephant orphanage. And also that nowadays and the digital market. So we also need to have make attention on the digital marketings and online marketing. These 2 sectors are globally is important because of these COVID-19. Last 1 year, and nobody has gone out from the house. Even Europe, either country, because of things. So we have we already quarantined more than 8 to 9 months in the house.
Yes.
Either both sides, either your country or any other country, even our countries. So it's it's a heavy affected for the economic for the different sector people. Okay. Exporters, international education has been heavily affected. So what we in the tourism sector, we have a confidence as a private organization, facilitation body, government taking many initiatives to improve the tourism in the country. We inviting tourists to come. Sri Lanka is opening from this month after COVID-19.
That's wonderful. Yeah. That's great news. Yeah. So please mute your other computer, Mr. Jaufer. Do you have any other notes about how wonderful tourism is in Sri Lanka? Any last words? It's almost time for us to say goodbye.
I can only say Sri Lanka is the #1 country for any tourists, any country people to visit Sri Lanka. Wonderful. It's a paradise.
Well, I look forward to seeing the progress that you make, and I'm looking forward to seeing your beaches, and maybe I'll try some surfing, and I'd love to see your national parks. So it's been a pleasure having you here with me today.
I also wanted to thank you through your social media. You promoting Sri Lanka, and your initiative is very good. We wanted to keep it up, and whatever the social media you are running in other place, please promote Sri Lanka as a best tourist destination. That's
so
why
you may know that to support high caliber individuals in developing nations on their quest for the global stage. I personally recognize the hard work that that you and others in your country have made to help Sri Lanka in its road to development.
One more thing I must say, I also wanted to thank the International Funding Organization who has initiated funding to Sri Lanka tourism. Different organization has supported, like USAID and Australian Aid, and different international organization has supported history to rebuild Sri Lanka tourism. I also making request them to please continue your financial support for Sri Lanka to rebuild economy of the income, to improve the economy of the country, because we are a third world developing countries.
Well, so it has been heard. So I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I hope will you check in with us later? I hope to have you back here soon.
Thank you very much, madam, for your interview.
Thank you. You've been listening to an interview with Mohamed Jaufer, the president of the Chamber of Tourism and Industry from Sri Lanka. Thank you for being with us here today.